All right, let's dive into one of the most epic stories you'll ever hear. It's got everything: betrayal, survival, and a shocking rise to power. We're talking about Joseph's wild journey from a pit to a palace. So let me ask you something right off the bat, something that really gets to the core of this whole thing. What if your own family, the people you trust most, betrayed you? But somehow, that awful act was all part of a bigger plan? I know, it sounds impossible, right? Well, let's see how it unfolds. So, where does a story this crazy even start? Well, it all goes back to Joseph's youth. And the whole thing kicks off because of two, seemingly small things: a really nice coat and a couple of, well, let's just say, very bold dreams. Okay, so Joseph, he was his dad's absolute favorite son, no question about it. And his dad, Jacob, wasn't subtle. He gave Joseph this amazing, super colorful coat. Now, that was enough to get his brothers annoyed. But then came the dreams. Joseph starts having these dreams where his entire family, including his older brothers, are all bowing down to him. And he actually tells them about it. As you can imagine, their jealousy just exploded into pure rage. And that rage, it wasn't just some quiet resentment. Nope, it boiled over into something truly shocking, an active betrayal that was about to flip Joseph's entire world upside down, forever. So check this out. Their anger is just completely out of control. They ambush him, throw him into an empty pit, and basically leave him there to die. But then, a group of traitors happens to walk by, and they get an idea. A terrible idea. Instead of just leaving him, they decide to make some money off him. They pull their own brother out of that hole and sell him into slavery. And just like that, his entire life, as he knew it, was over. He was taken far, far away to Egypt, a place completely foreign to him. He was totally cut off from his home, his family, everything. But believe it or not, the story is far from over. Once he gets to Egypt, Joseph's journey actually takes another, even darker turn. I mean, his character gets tested in ways you just can't imagine. He goes from being a slave to being a prisoner. And here's the really cruel twist. He ends up as a servant in the house of a high-ranking official, and he's so hardworking and so trustworthy that he gets promoted to run the whole household. He's doing everything right. But that integrity, it's what gets him in trouble. He's falsely accused of a crime he didn't commit, and bam, he's thrown into prison. He went from being this trusted manager right back down to the absolute bottom. Now, through all of this, I mean, think about it. The betrayal, being sold, slavery, being falsely accused, there's this one central idea that keeps coming up. The story tells us that even in his absolute darkest moments, God was still with him. And you have to remember that, because that idea, it's the key to everything that comes next. So, years go by. Joseph is just wasting away in this prison. But then, something big happens. A major crisis hits the top brass in Egypt, the absolute highest level, and it's a problem so confusing that nobody in the entire kingdom knows what to do about it. It turns out the pharaoh himself, we're talking about the most powerful man in the world basically, is having these really troubling dreams, night after night. He just knows they're important, like some kind of warning, but he has no clue what they mean. So what does he do? He calls in all his experts, the magicians, the wise men, the smartest people in all of Egypt. And here's the thing, not one of them can figure it out. They're all totally baffled, stumped. So you've got the experts with no answers, the pharaoh getting more and more worried, and then someone remembers. Someone remembers a prisoner down in the dungeons who was known for being able to interpret dreams. The question is, could this forgotten prisoner, of all people, really hold the key to saving the entire country? And this, right here, is where the story just flips on its head. It's one of the most incredible turnarounds you'll ever hear about. Joseph, the prisoner, is about to go from the absolute bottom to the very, very top. So they bring him up from the prison, and he stands before Pharaoh. And without missing a beat, Joseph tells him exactly what the dream means. He says it's a message from God. There will be 7 years of amazing harvests, plenty of food for everyone. But right after that, there will be 7 years of a terrible famine, a famine so bad it will destroy everything. I mean, just look at how fast this all happens. It's mind-blowing. A little while ago, he's a prisoner nobody remembers. Just yesterday, he's dragged out of a dungeon as a last-ditch effort. And today, Today, Pharaoh is so blown away by Joseph's wisdom that he makes him the second most powerful man in all of Egypt. Just like that. And his job is simple: save the entire nation from that coming famine. And you know what? Joseph absolutely nails it. He spends the 7 good years storing up so much grain, it's unbelievable. So when the famine finally hits, Egypt is ready. But the famine is everywhere, way beyond Egypt's borders. And pretty soon, Joseph's past is about to come knocking on his door. Literally. See, the famine is hitting his old home hard too. So his brothers, yep, the same ones who sold him, have to travel all the way to Egypt, desperate to buy food to survive. And there they are, bowing down before this powerful Egyptian ruler, with absolutely no clue that they're looking at the brother they betrayed all those years ago. So now we get to the ultimate moment of truth. The very men who ruined his life are on their knees in front of him. Their fate is completely in his hands. He has all the power. He could get his revenge right then and there. Or he could do something else. Something much, much harder. And what does he do? Incredibly, he chooses to forgive them. And his reason why is just wow. He explains that he finally sees the bigger picture. He tells his brothers, who are just terrified at this point, that even though they meant to do something evil to him, God used it for good. Their terrible plan was actually part of a much bigger plan to save their entire family and so many others from starving to death. All that suffering, it all had a purpose. So Joseph reveals who he is, he forgives them, and it's this incredibly emotional reunion. But here's the thing. That's not the end of the story. Not even close. It's actually a new beginning, and it leaves us with this one big question to think about. What happens to Joseph and his family now? How does this one act of forgiveness change not just their future, but the future of an entire nation?